In 1947, a young Bedouin shepherd named edh-Dhib threw a stone into the dark cave near the Dead Sea, and heard the sharp, unexpected sound of pottery shattering in the shadows. What he found inside would rewrite entire chapters of human history, and raise even more questions than it answered. Scrolls written more than 2,000 years ago, carefully hidden in sealed clay jars, covered in mysterious ancient writing, and whispering of a forgotten world that had vanished long before we even knew it existed. In this video, we'll dive deep into the sands of time, into the arid cliffs of Qumran, to uncover the truths, the myths, and the forgotten voices locked inside the Dead Sea Scrolls. So, take a seat, because here comes history. The Accidental Discovery. The year was 1947. The place, the desolate cliffs near Qumran, along the northwestern edge of the Dead Sea, in what's now the West Bank. edh-Dhib was searching for a goat that had gone astray. As he climbed the rocky terrain, he noticed a narrow opening in a cave. Curious and hoping to flush out his lost animal, he picked up a stone and tossed it inside. Instead of hearing a goat bleat, he heard the unmistakable crash of breaking pottery. Inside the cave he found tall jars. Some were broken, others still sealed, and inside those jars were scrolls, fragile, darkened with age, some reduced to fragments, others surprisingly intact. At first, Muhammad and his cousins didn't realize what they had stumbled upon. They took the scrolls with them, hoping they might be worth something. A few weeks later, they ended up with the antiquities dealer in Bethlehem, where the real journey began. A handful of scholars recognized what they were looking at. Texts that predated anything they had ever seen. These weren't just dusty relics, they were windows into an ancient world. And as more caves were explored over the next decade, the scale of discovery exploded. From one shepherd hand chance encounter came one of the greatest archaeological breakthroughs of the 20th century. What the scrolls are. So, what exactly are the Dead Sea Scrolls? In short, a time capsule from vanished culture. A snapshot of thought, faith, and conflict frozen in the arid heart of the desert. Eventually, over 900 scrolls and fragments were recovered from 11 different caves around Qumran. Some were found in clay jars, others scattered across the cave floors. The texts were written between 3rd century BCE and 1st century CE, mostly on parchment and papyrus, and even one on copper. The languages? Primarily Hebrew, with some Aramaic, the language Jesus would have spoken, and a few in Greek. Some of the scrolls contain familiar texts from the Hebrew Bible, passages from Genesis, Deuteronomy, Isaiah, and Psalms. But many were new, entire works never seen before. Apocalyptic visions, mystical commentaries, rule books, rhymes, and rewritten versions of biblical events. The scrolls are believed to have belonged to a radical Jewish sect, possibly the Essenes. These were strict separatists who rejected the religious authorities in Jerusalem, withdrew from society, and formed a kind of desert commune focused on spiritual purity and divine preparation. For them, the world was in crisis, and these scrolls reflect their vision. A cosmic battle between light and darkness, between corruption and righteousness. The forgotten world they describe. The scrolls aren't just scriptures. They tell the story of a turbulent and divided time, a world full of political upheaval, religious fragmentation, and deep spiritual longing. There is one scroll, the War of the Sons of Light against the Sons of Darkness, that reads like a military manual for an apocalyptic battle. It describes a future war where divine forces would overthrow evil, with the sect followers at the center of this cosmic plan. Then there's the community rule, a document that outlines life in their isolated society. Everything was controlled: meals, rituals, punishments, even how they walked. Absolute obedience was expected, and anyone who deviated faced expulsion. The Temple Scroll, meanwhile, lays out an ideal version of the temple, with instructions supposedly given by God. It describes architecture, offerings, and sacred laws, but it's not just a blueprint. It's a vision of divine perfection that challenges the authority of the temple in Jerusalem. Altogether, these texts paint a vivid portrait of the sect on the margins of society. Convinced that they alone held the truth, they had turned their backs on a corrupted world and were preparing for its end. Mysteries, codes, and controversies. Now here's where things really get mysterious. Some of the scrolls speak in riddles and code names. There is mention of a teacher of righteousness, a kind of prophetic leader opposed by the wicked priest, who may have been a high-ranking enemy from the Jerusalem establishment. Then there's the man of the lie, a deceiver who led others astray. Scholars have debated their identities for decades. Were these real historical figures, symbolic archetypes, or something in between? And then there's the Copper Scroll, completely different from the rest. Etched into thin sheets of copper, this scroll doesn't contain theology. It lists 63 hidden treasure sites, completed with directions and quantities: gold bars, silver vessels, temple artifacts. No one has ever found the treasures. Some think it's an ancient treasure map, others say it's allegorical, or even a hoax, but the mystery has never been solved. And then came the controversy. For decades, access to the scrolls was limited to a handful of scholars. The public was left in the dark. Frustration grew. Why so secrecy? What were they hiding? Political pressure? Religious tension? And academic gatekeeping all played a role. It wasn't until the 1990s that the scrolls were finally photographed, digitalized, and shared more widely. Some say the treasures listed in the Copper Scroll were real, others think it's all symbolic. But every clue raises new questions. And honestly, I'd love to hear what you think. What's your theory? Hidden treasure? Lost history? Something else entirely? Let me know below. The most fascinating discovery often starts with a single question: what they mean today. The Dead Scrolls changed the way we understand history, religion, and the transmission of sacred texts. Before their discovery, the oldest complete Hebrew Bible manuscript we have were from 900 CE. The Dead Sea Scrolls pushed that timeline back by 1,000 years, offering scholars a powerful tool for comparison. And the results? Astonishing. Much of the biblical text had been preserved with incredible accuracy, but there were also surprises. Differences in wording, alternate spellings, and entire books were never knew existed. Texts like the Book of Enoch, Book of Jubilees, and others writing once considered holy by some communities, but excluded from the final canon, were suddenly back into the spotlight. It begs the question: who gets to decide what's counted as sacred, what becomes scripture, and what is erased? For historians, the scroll opened a direct line to the Second Temple period, the turbulent era that shaped both Judaism and early Christianity. For theologians, they challenge assumptions, and for the rest of us, they offer a humbling reminder: our understanding of the past is always incomplete. Echoes of Ancient Voice. Over 2,000 years ago, as empires rose and fell, the temples were burned and rebuilt. Someone, or maybe many, gathered these scrolls, placed them in jars, and hid them deep within desert caves. They didn't leave a note, they left silence. But in that silence, the scrolls still speak. They whisper of ancient dreams and apocalyptic fears, of prophets and rebels, of lost communities that dared to defy the world around them. Today, in museum glass and digital archives, their words endure, delicate, damaged, but never fully silenced. They remind us that the truth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it waits in the dark until someone listens. If this thought pulled you in, and you want more hidden chapters from history, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Got a strange event, secret project, or forgotten place you think we should cover next? Drop it in the comments. I'm always reading. Thanks for watching, and just as you took the seat, now you take the story with you. Bye!